Hazard pay could pay you a lot more money under a second stimulus check package than you ever thought. Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. Our second of 4 stimulus package updates. Earlier today we detailed SSDI, SSI, and Social Security, and the new jobs numbers released minutes ago. Our third video, as always, will be unemployment, PUA, and FPUC. And our fourth video today will be rental assistance. Finally, our fifth second stimulus check video, if you call it that, will be on EIDL for our OG viewers. But this video focuses on hazard pay and new details which have really surfaced in the last few hours that a lot of viewers are asking, and I'm here to assist you. The number one question that viewers asked me since our hazard pay video from not yesterday but the day before was, how do I apply? And the resounding answer that I gave over and over again was, you can't. Your employer applies. And a lot of viewers responded in disdain, as I did. No one particularly likes what's on the table as to the application process, but there's great news as to how long hazard pay will pay you. So let me go over that. First, some of you have asked about the $25,000 hazard pay bill. That's no longer currently reduced to a bill. It was a draft and it did not get memorialized. What you have is the hazard pay bill, which is part of the HEROES Act, and a subsection of the HEROES Act is called the HEROES Fund. Where is it? It's currently in the Senate. Where did it start? It started in the House. It was passed by Democrats. What does it call for? It calls for money for people who are essential workers. Let's get first to the essential workers definition. A lot of viewers have asked, am I an essential worker? Am I an essential worker? Basically, essential workers is defined under federal law. There is some rub and there is some push between the parties as to defining what are essential workers, but ultimately, if you worked during the pandemic and were not laid off, that you worked the front lines in March, in April, and were not laid off, you are probably an essential worker. Essential workers include everything from distribution and delivery, hospitals and food services early on in that pandemic. Viewers have asked, how about I was an Uber delivery, Uber Eats driver, and I never stopped working in March or April. You possibly would qualify as well. Here's the rub, however, is if your employer doesn't apply for you, you don't qualify for anything. More about that in a second. Let's get to the money of the hazard pay, because this has caused a lot of confusion, misreporting, and nuance. So I'm here to help the viewers of this channel who are essential workers or believe they're essential workers. First, the HEROES Act provides for $200 billion for hazard pay. It's a lot of money. It's great news. It's given to a variety of essential workers, which includes doctors, nurses, and other frontline medical professionals, along with civil employees, whether they're police officers, firefighters, social workers, city employees, grocery clerks, postal workers. I had a lot of postal workers ask, are you an essential worker? Absolutely. Childcare, cafeteria workers. So if you really think you're an essential worker, and if you think about it, what is an essential worker? And you say you think you are, you probably are. So that's the classification. Let's talk about the money. This is a lot of money, and it's great news. So how does it calculate? And you need to get a pen and paper ready for this. I'll go a little bit slower. It's $13 an hour on top of what you're normally paid. It's until the worker gets, so that's the calculation. What's the maximum? It's $13 an hour until you get to $10,000. So every hour and every hour and every hour until you get to $10,000. There are two caveats. First, if you only get up to $10,000 if you were paid less than $200,000 in 2019. If you made more than $200,000 in 2019, then you'll only get $5,000. So let me recap again. $13 an hour. It doesn't matter how much you made in 2019. Everyone gets that $13 an hour. But it keeps on going to $10,000 if you made $200,000 or less last year. If you made a lot of money last year, if you made $200,000 or more, it'll stop at $5,000. So if you've been working all these hours and you have that pen and paper and you're listening to me, you're like, oh my God, I'm already at $10,000. I'm already at $5,000. What happens? Well, you would get a lump sum check right away. You would get a lump sum check. If you're not at that threshold and you say, oh, I'm only at like 3,000, but I certainly qualify for the 10,000, how do I get to the 10,000? Here's the next calculation you need to do. So it would pay you this $13 an hour until 60 days after the pandemic ends. So what does that mean? It means that, okay, you pull out your pen and paper, you look at January, you calculate how many hours you had, and you do each number of hours until you get up to the present of today's video, what is today? July 2nd. You get up to today's video, and you say, okay, I got this many hours times 13. Okay, I'm at $4,000. I'm not at 5 and I'm not at 10, but I qualify for 10 because I didn't make that much money last year. I didn't make 200,000. So I got like a couple thousand more to go. So you then would continue to get paid at $13 an hour going forward until 60 days after the pandemic ends, which, at this point could be, early next year, middle of next year. So ultimately, if you work a lot of hours, you're going to get the $10,000. It's as simple as that. In fact, you can do the math. I'm not going to do it for you because that'll really put you to sleep. But I mean, you can do the amount of, you could say, hey, I'm in July. I usually do this many hours per year. You could calculate, you only need about 2 or 3 more months to be at $10,000. Okay, so that is the calculation. Then the distribution of the money. So if you are already at that $10,000 or $5,000 threshold and you qualify for the money, you're supposed to get a direct deposit. You're supposed to get a lump sum. Bam, just that $10,000 hitting your account. When would it hit? Well, basically the HEROES Act would have to be approved by the Senate, which is where it is. I mean, this is a bill. It's a proposal. It's going to get worked on. It could get changed. I've heard very little pushback from Republicans about it. They don't particularly, they understand that this is a sensitive issue, and they understand this is an issue that could really backfire on them on opposing. So I have heard very little pushback on the hazard bill, which is great news. So the hazard bill is ultimately going to be part of this massive stimulus package that will be approved in August. This channel is reporting it's going to be approved on or around August 8th. Why? Because that's the last day it can be approved. Members of Congress go on another vacation. So what would happen then? And I always get this question, where is my money and when am I getting my money? Okay, I got it. I got the calculation. When am I getting my money? Here is the bad news. And this is the stuff I absolutely hate. And I've been saying this since, for the last 4 days when we started doing hazard pay videos. This is not one of those things where, hey, you apply, just tell the government, I apply, I qualify, give me my money. No, it passes through your employer. What does it mean? Well, employers would have to distribute the money to you. They would have to, 1, apply for the hazard pay for you, 2, send the money to you, 3, add it to your paychecks, and 4, deduct payroll taxes from all hazard payments. Let me repeat that again slower. They would deduct payroll taxes from hazard payments, but ultimately they have to apply for you. Now, boy, I mean, there's a lot of problems with that. I'm going to go over all the problems with you right now because I tell you the good and the bad. I'm here to help everyone, but I don't sugarcoat stuff. So if something's bad, I'm going to tell it to you right now. First, people who aren't paid on the hourly basis. Boy, I mean, there's a lot of viewers of this channel who have dropped in the comments, I am not paid on an hourly basis. How does someone calculate this? Two, some people are not paid, some people are paid by job. Some people would pay, hey, I had truckers in the comments who said, hey, I just do jobs. I take a thing by a job and I go out and do it. How do we even calculate this? Next, a lot of people are, self-employed hazard pay people. So who is that employer to apply for them? It is really a hot mess, and it makes you wonder, what is Congress thinking? Because when you have a bill that sounds so good, but then you have the manner of delivery of the money, and it has so many holes in it, like Swiss cheese, you wonder, what were you thinking? How do self-employed people get this hazard pay? So ultimately, my suggestion to you is the following. If you think you qualify for hazard pay, please, and you don't like the manner of delivery, please do the following. Contact your senator and your House representatives staff. They are working. The people they work for are on vacation, but they are working over the next couple of weeks. Contact them and say, you could say you were watching LALATE's channel. Contact them and say, hey, I love hazard pay. I'm an essential worker. I like the HEROES bill, but here's a problem with the bill, and I think you need to address this when you come back, when the senator or representative comes back from vacation. The next problem I have from a lot that viewers have alerted me to is, one, you may have been laid off by your employer. So is an employer that no longer employs you going to do this work for you? A lot of you have two employers, which makes the accounting very complex. Viewers have said, I'm an essential worker, but I'm an essential worker at two different employers. And so one has, I have this many hours at that employer, I have this many hours at that employer. What happens? It's they both have to apply, we know that. But who's to say when you trigger? I mean, it's either going to be done right, or it's also ripe for fraud. I mean, ultimately, you could see a lot of fraud with this program. You could have people who get $10,000 from 2 or 3 or 4 different employers because they're not cross-checked. Is there a cross-check reference? Next, I've had viewers of this channel who unfortunately have died. Their spouses, their survivors are entitled to the hazard pay that person got. How does a deceased person go through the process of getting the hazard pay from the former employer? The hazard pay, the bill says that the benefits do pass to the survivor, so that's good. But what's the mechanism? It's just all over the place. The good news is a lot of money. The good news is that there's a push to get it approved. The good news is that the calculation is pretty clear. We all understand the calculation is pretty clear, with the exception of people who are not on an hourly basis. And then the last thing is, boy, I'm going to drop a bad thing at the very end of this video, which I hate to do. Hazard pay talks about employees. Are we only going to be talking about a W-2 situation for hazard pay? Are we not going to be talking about people who are paid on a 1099 for hazard pay? That would be insane. It would truly be incredulous that we are talking about a hazard pay bill for only W-2 people, and that people who are on the front line, who are self-employed people, get nothing. That you have a W-2 person on one side and a 1099 on the right. Ultimately, the nuances of the language is very important, and that's why you need to contact your representative and senator. As the hazard pay bill gets changed over the coming weeks, I will update you. Of course, I'm doing these videos on a daily basis, so there's a lot of pull and tug. Coming up today, 2 other really shocking second stimulus check videos and EIDL. As always, stay at LA for more.